There's an old saying, he who frames the question wins the debate. And it's true. So you're going to have people, you have people that are framing this as a states' rights issue, of government overreach. You're going to have people framing the argument that this was a man who was breaking the law, that other cattle ranchers are paying the fees. Why isn't he doing it? Chris Matthews, who many of you know does a show called Hardball, affiliated with MSNBC, he is a maniac left-winger, and he and I have a very long and conflicted history between us. He has been covering this in earnest, just railing against the right wing, the religious right, the militia. And he frames this first using Mike Huckabee. Let's use the Huckabee clip.
As their own. They see it as an example of government overreach, as they say, that turned Bundy into a folk hero of the far right. Here's Mike Huckabee.
There is something incredibly wrong when a government believes that some blades of grass that a cow is eating is so an egregious affront to the government of the United States that we would literally put a gun in a citizen's face and threaten to shoot him over it.
So here we see him teeing up on Mike Huckabee, but then going to the real point of his contention.
John, this thing smacks of stunt, of stagecraft. Why doesn't this guy pay what he owes the government if he's going to raise his cattle on government land? He knew what he was doing. He was taking advantage of something other people have to pay for. He was getting it free, and somehow he now marks himself as a hero.
Yeah, he's not a hero, Chris, and he's not a victim. He's no, symbol of states' rights, as Mike Huckabee and others have seized on. This guy is essentially a welfare cowboy who's been grazing on those lands for free for 20 years, fighting the federal government. He's lost in court, and suddenly the BLM, unfortunately, came in such a heavy-handed way. There were some incidents, and then these militia guys come in, and suddenly he's a hero. Now the guy is ratcheting up his rhetoric, Chris, and saying he doesn't recognize the existence of the United States government, and they're going to take back
this is so
this
Waco.
land.
This is so Waco, John, isn't it? It's what you do is you go completely outside the law for years and years and years. You drive local authorities crazy. They bring in the federal authorities because you just will not obey the law, and then you declare yourself a hero when they finally take action against you.
All right, now let's analyze some of what these guys are saying. It is true that Mr. Bundy refused to pay his fees. Bundy's argument is that the federal government should not be gathering these fees, and he defied them. You can argue both sides, all right? And again, I want to say to you that sometimes situations emerge in which the heroes are not pristine, where the arguments are not perfectly clear, and where other arguments come in. But when Chris Matthews said, this is so Waco, this is so Waco, I want to ask Mr. Matthews, what did you want, Chris? For the government to open fire? Is that what you wanted? Do you think that the Bundys wanted to be killed? I mean, by comparing Mr. Bundy to David Koresh is absurd. And the people who risked life and liberty to come from many states all around the country to stand with the Bundys are not cut from the same cloth as the people in Waco. This is a grotesque bait and switch, which I predicted would happen. That's one of the reasons in some of the prior episodes we covered what happened in Waco and what happened in Ruby Ridge. If you missed those episodes, go to our website, voiceofresistance.com, and watch them so that you can get a history of what happened in those situations. When we come back from this break, I'm going to play a couple more clips from Chris Matthews. One of them is very troubling, that came from one of the organizers there on the ground. Again, we've got to call this like we see this, all right? But mark my words, people. The FBI, the NSA, heaven knows what other law enforcement agencies are using the spying tools that we know are in full operation right now. And they are combing through the phone calls, the texts, the videos that were sent. And this is, as Harry Reid said, far from over.